You've probably seen reports that the crew of an American flag vessel that was hijacked off the coast of Somalia retook control of the ship today. One person is still being held hostage. Some reports say it's the captain. But here is the one thing they're not reporting on. Where are the Marines? I mean, I don't mean that in a literal sense, because I know the Navy had a ship on the way to the area. I mean it in a sense that we have become so politically correct that no one would even dare think about sending the Marines to fight pirates. Pirates? What? Oh, they just sing song, Army matey, and my parrot too. Come on. No. We won't do that, because they're pirates. Here's another name for pirates. Probably you might be a little more familiar with this. Terrorists. Yeah. Let's not sugarcoat the fact that paying ransom to these guys, pirates, is not only negotiating with terrorists, but it is also funding real future attacks. And America has got to take a stand on this. You know, not the king with the long swords and the short pike. I mean the kind with AK-47s and RPGs, for example. Last year, do you know that the pirates seized a Saudi supertanker? It had $100 million of crude oil in it. After being held nearly for 2 months and nobody did anything, the Cirrus Star and its 25-member crew were freed after $3 million in ransom just magically parachuted out of the sky and landed on the deck. Turns out that people do negotiate with terrorists after all. Usually, they're dirtbag terrorist countries that do that, but they do. So what does ransom paid to Africa have anything to do with us? Well, let's follow the money trail, shall we? Most terrorism experts agree that most terrorist attacks can't succeed without a source of funding, and that includes 9/11. There have been nearly 400 pirate attacks off the coast of Somalia since 2008. Almost 200 people have been killed in those attacks over the last decade, with another 200 missing, 600 injured, and 3,000 taken hostage. Which brings me back to the Marines. You know that song they sing, you know, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Tripoli. Probably don't know where that comes from. Tripoli, today's Libya, is where the U.S. fought its first foreign war and where the U.S. Marines were baptized by fire. It was late in the 18th century. As much as 1 out of every $5 in U.S. revenue was being paid out in ransom to pirates who engaged in theft, extortion, hijacking, and slavery. Finally, the year 1801, Thomas Jefferson, he was the third president. He didn't really want to be president, and he hated all the stuff that went along with it. And he really hated war. In fact, he was the guy that said, one war such as our revolution is enough for one lifetime. Well, he gets into office, and he's like, oh, crap, pirates? You got to be kidding me, pirates? He wouldn't pay any more blackmail to the pirates. So he tried to build an international coalition. Yeah. Guess who said, what? Oh, we cannot. We'll just live with them. You know, sure, they got the little bird on the shoulder, but we can live with it, right? Jefferson said, no, we can't. You stupid French people, shut up. They're pirates. So Jefferson, realizing that America could never truly be free if it cowered to terrorists, they dispatched the U.S. Marines. Those Marines fought bravely against Islamic terrorists in our first global war against Islamic extremists. That's weird. 14 years far from home. And as far as I know, it was never described as a quagmire or a lost cause, but we didn't have the New York Times at the time. Their sacrifice was embodied in the Tripoli Monument. It was once sitting right in front of Washington, D.C., but now it's hidden in Annapolis. Here's an illustration that makes it easier to see the Muslim masks and trophies there. By the way, have you ever heard the nickname Leathernecks? There's Leatherneck. Ever heard the Marines called Leathernecks? I always thought, I didn't even know what that was about. It's actually legend, but a lot of people think it's because the leather right there, that was put around their neck. Why was it put around their neck? Oh, because people like to behead them, protect them from saber blows of Muslim pirates. There is no shame in admitting that our enemies today are much like our enemies back then, Islamic terrorists who despise everything that we stand for. But there's plenty of shame in skirting our responsibilities and backing down from any kind of fight like that. It makes a difference. That's why it's time these modern-day pirates meet the same people that ended the tyranny of their predecessors. The few, the proud, the United States Marines. In Raleigh is retired U.S. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Bill Cowan. How are you, sir?
Good, Glenn. What a great intro.
You know what? I have to tell you something. The rest of the world is afraid of these pirates. I mean, I see them coming up in these little teeny boats, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. They are funding terrorist activities. Somalia is an absolute war zone. Al-Qaeda is there. They're making all kinds of money from Saudis, etc., etc. Why don't we send, for a U.S. flag ship, don't you think we need to send a message? Don't you ever touch a U.S. flagship.
We should have been sending a message over there for a long time, Glenn, and the problem goes back not only to the Bush administration, but to the Clinton administration. You know, the United States had good goals when it went into Somalia in 1991. As soon as it got a little bit tough, Clinton pulled everybody out. We've never gone back. It's a failed state. A lot of those pirates, indeed, were trained by Europeans, some of them by U.S. They're out there making big money right now. And, Glenn, you're absolutely right. We have failed to stand up and confront these guys head on, and, you know, remains to be seen whether this administration will do it.
Well, I think that there's I think there's a reason why we haven't had any pirate take a U.S. flag ship in over 200 years. This is the first time. People are taking pirate ships, pirates are taking ships all the time, but they stay away from ones with the U.S. flag. I mean, any of these clowns that own these yachts, and they're like, yes, but I don't have it flagged to the United States flag. I have the Cayman Islands. Really? Yeah. Well, I can't wait till the pirates come and look at your ship. There's a reason you pay tax dollars and you have that flag on the back of your ship, and that's because don't screw with the U.S. Navy or the Marines or the United States of America. If we don't, now luckily there's only one guy left that we understand, if we don't go after these pirates and teach them not to touch an American ship, how safe are our ships in the seas?
Well, we haven't demonstrated to any of those pirates yet that we as a world are ready to stand up. Now, these guys that took this American ship may have been extremely surprised when they got on board and found out that they were dealing with an American crew. And by all accounts right now, that crew deserves a lot of credit. It's a reminder of what happened on 9/11 when that one group of passengers on the plane that went down in Pennsylvania stood up and said, let's roll. It looks like this crew did the same thing. But, Glenn, until we see what happens to the captain of that ship, how we get him back, we haven't demonstrated to anybody yet, right, much less those pirates, that we are as tough and mean as we should be, well, and as we can be.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. This is my favorite part of it, that the crew kicked their butts. I mean, you don't even, forget about the Marines, forget about the Navy. Don't screw with a U.S. cook, because he'll kick your butt too. However, you are exactly right. Nothing will change, and I believe it will only get much, much worse if we just back away from this and say, well, let's not get into anything. These are pirates. I don't care if you kill every last one of them. You come next to a U.S. ship and you have ill intentions. We must send a message, or there's, correct me if I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's chaos on the seas.
Well, it almost is chaos off the coast of Somalia right now, and I think international law precludes those ships from having weapons on them and using those weapons to repel boarders coming across onto their ship unless the pirates have fired first. So many of these crews have their own restrictions that hold them back, and those restrictions shouldn't be there either. And frankly, Glenn, if all those pirates were killed, who knows who fired first?
Can I ask you something, Bill? I mean,
yes, sir.
I think if we took all the guns away from people, then there wouldn't be any problems with pirates. We just, I mean, have we checked if those pirates have gone through the legal process to get all their permits and everything? I mean, because maybe some of those guns have been illegally purchased from the pirates.
Some of them might have made their way across the southern border from the United States, Glenn. I'm sure there'll be people out there making that argument, too. Somehow, they'll find a way to make us responsible.
Yeah, no, I know they will. But you know what?